Good morning, good day, whatever time it is in your zone. Hello, I'm Diana Guerrero, also known as the ARKlady, and today's Critter Chat is about urban wildlife, specifically deer. It's fawning season in some parts of the country and the United States. And today I'm talking a little bit about some of the issues that come up if you are a dog mom, pet parent that takes your animal out, or maybe you're a nature lover and go hiking. The first thing is, if you ever see a fawn in the grass, under trees, hidden away somewhere, leave it alone. The mothers head out, and the fawns, the reason they have the mottling coat, the little white spots on the back of their coat, I'm specifically talking about species like mule deers, also called black-tailed deers or white-tailed deers, is because they're camouflaged. So they leave them while they go eat, and then they come back and take care of the fawn. So never remove an animal. And then if you see one and you're concerned, just keep an eye on it, and the proper jurisdiction usually is the wildlife division, whatever, it varies according to state. So that's the first thing. Some of the deer, like where I live on the central coast of California, they are protected in Pebble Beach, but in the town I'm in, they're really out of control because people feed them. It is illegal in most places to feed wildlife. And the reason is you create a death sentence for that animal when you feed it. Because what happens is, instead of having the natural behavior, they become what we call habituated to humans. They look at you more like a buddy instead of another species. And with that becomes a lot more aggression and behavioral issues. So, for instance, when I lived in the woods in the mountains of Southern California, over 7,000 feet, we hardly saw deer. If you did, they were down in the meadow drinking water or foraging, and they would scamper away. Here, they look at you and go, what? I have pictures, which I should dig up and post, of them coming up right to my glass door, and they'll eat people's plants. So you have to be a little strategic about what you're putting out there. But the problem is people think they're really sweet and cute, and they're not. There's a lot of deer attacks and injuries from deer each and every year. And what that looks like, even if it's a doe, they come and they'll rear up and they'll strike you with their hooves. It's very disturbing. I'll see if I can post a video for you as well to see what they do. So don't feed wildlife. There is a hefty fine depending on where you're at. And the best thing to do if you have neighbors feeding wildlife is to either talk to them or let animal services know. They will talk to them, and usually confidentially, or send them a letter and say cease and desist. So what has happened in the area I'm in is everyone loves animals, and they don't use a lot of common sense. It's not common practice, and they do feed them. And so what happens is the deer are not afraid. They will come within a couple feet of you, and when they're in fawning season, the does become very aggressive. Now, what they will do when they have fawns on the ground, you'll see them alert, and they'll give you a direct stare and maybe remain motionless. You can walk by, usually if you don't have an animal with you. If you have a dog, a canine, canines are predators in their world, and so are cats. But the small cats are not always an issue, but the dogs certainly are. They will come after you. They look like they're following you, but they're getting ready to attack. So what can you do? Well, there's a few things that go back to that common sense as common practice. First, don't walk in areas where you know the deer are generally sighted. Golf courses here, green corridors, certain neighborhoods where people are feeding them, right? So avoid those areas where there's parks or golf courses where deer tend to congregate. You can usually identify those areas by piles of their little pellets. Sometimes they're clumped up together, but they're little round poop balls, essentially. And so avoid those areas. That's the first thing to mitigate it. And the second thing is, change up your walking areas, your walking times. Deer are more often active early morning and towards dusk. That is a general rule for all wildlife. And then there's a few things that you can do. You can get an animal deterrent like a citronella or pepper spray. You can also use a noise device, but if they're really habituated, they tend to ignore it. You can use a barrier. So get behind a tree, hide behind a bush, and also you can use some kind of other barrier. People here have picked up deck chairs and also, tried umbrellas to just do a visual barrier so they can't actually see your dog. So those are a few tips. When I worked with them in captive situations, we had ballast boards where the deer would hit them, but you could at least block and deflect. They're really powerful and they can really cause some damage. So you want to be very careful. So that's it. I think I had something else I was yesterday I was walking a dog and avoiding all the corridors, and boom, there was a deer in somebody's yard. And I looked at her. She didn't, her tail wasn't up. She was just staring at us though, really directly and alert. So I kept an eye on her for a while and I thought maybe we were okay, but I was scanning my environment. So make sure you do that. And also keep your dog on a 6-foot leash, not on a retractable, because you're going to get in more trouble that way. You can't control it and you don't know what your animal's going to end up into or flush. But I turned around and she was following us, which is a precursor to an attack. So I took the dog behind a big bush, put him on a down because I'm his trainer, so he usually minds me, and yelled at her. And I don't recommend you do this, but I know how certain animals threaten others, and I made a threat, and then changed my tone of voice, and then she went off down a side street. So even if you're mostly prepared, you always want to expect the unexpected and err on the side of caution. So that's it for today. Deer are beautiful, but they're wildlife, so the best practice is to enjoy, but don't engage. Bye for now. Hope you have a great day. I'm Diana Guerrero, also known as the ARKlady, and this has been the Critter Chat.